of Taiwan, I'm Liao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. It's been 100 days since Donald Trump began his second term, and the U.S. president has declared the period to be a great success. But polls here in Taiwan show that concerns are running high over his economic policies and what they might mean for the country. Chris Gorin takes a closer look.
To mark 100 days of his second term, U.S. President Donald Trump holds a rally in the state of Michigan.
And we're here tonight in the heartland of our nation to celebrate the most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country, and that's according to many, many people.
That may not include most American people, as several recent polls show his approval rate in the low 40s, among the lowest for any U.S. president in their first 100 days. The discontent being felt in Taiwan as well. Only 33% of Taiwanese viewed the U.S. positively, according to a recent poll published by Brookings, a 20% drop from last July. The main driver of discontent? Tariffs. Trump has paused many of his global tariffs, including a 32% levy on most Taiwanese goods. But the U.S. is still threatening targeted tariffs on chips and electronics, Taiwan's key exports. That's despite Taiwanese chip giant TSMC pledging a record $165 billion investment in Arizona, the largest foreign investment in U.S. history. According to Taiwanese Public Opinion Foundation, nearly 82% of Taiwan's public considered Trump's tariffs unreasonable.
I think this is because of the tariff, right? The tariff toward Taiwan is so high that it makes people believe that it is punishing Taiwan. So I think there are reasons for ordinary people to doubt whether U.S. is reliable.
The new Trump administration has made some waves with its public Taiwan policies. In February, a webpage describing the U.S. policy towards Taiwan removed language stating that the U.S. does not support Taiwan independence, while adding a sentence that any solution must be acceptable on both sides of the strait.
It basically suggests that Beijing has a say in Taiwan's future, right? So it is hard to tell what exactly is the U.S. position right now in Taiwan Strait.
Meanwhile, China's military, the People's Liberation Army, or PLA, is continuing to put pressure on Taiwan, where U.S. arms sales have not been halted, but no major new deals have been announced. The U.S. has kept a 145% tariff on Chinese goods, sparking fears of a long-term trade war between the world's two largest economies. While the trade war could cause economic stress for both the U.S. and China, some say it could also have an unintended consequence.
I believe that economic stress and risk of social stability in China would make it less likely that Xi Jinping would use force against Taiwan, not more likely. That doesn't mean that PLA exercises would stop or that the rhetoric would change, the threats, all of the cyber attacks against Taiwan, the preparations would continue.
Despite the tensions, there may yet be hope for U.S.-Taiwan relations.
But I think that the U.S.-Taiwan relationship is likely to remain strong because it is very much in American interests to keep the bilateral relationship strong and to continue to develop those relations, whether they be in the economic, the diplomatic, or the military realm.
With tariff threats still hanging over the global economy, it appears that the only certainty about Trump's next 100 days is yet more uncertainty. Delphine Chen and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Beijing has lodged a complaint with the Philippines ambassador over what it calls negative moves related to Taiwan and security. The statement from China's foreign ministry did not elaborate further. This comes as the U.S. and Philippines hold their largest ever annual joint military exercises in the region. Some of the drills simulate full-scale battles with China. A new report by a Swedish think tank says global defense spending saw its steepest rise in 2024, the most since the end of the Cold War. Adil Brar reports.
Wars, rising tensions, and the world on edge. 2024 saw the steepest jump in defense spending in over 3 decades. Global defense spending rose by a staggering 9.4%, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. More than 100 countries boosted their military budget. The institute's researcher Xiao Liang says this rise in defense spending is unprecedented.
It was the highest year-on-year increase since the end of the Cold War. And we also saw spending increased in all regions in the world. So it was really a global across the board trend.
In Europe, the war in Ukraine was a clear impetus. European leaders have called for dramatically increasing defense spending. Fears over the future U.S. commitment to NATO under Donald Trump also played a role.
If Europe is to survive, it must be armed. It is not our choice. I am not a militarist.
Even before President Trump's return to power, his skepticism towards alliances had already pushed European nations to ramp up arms production and strategic independence. In 2024, military spending in Europe, including Russia, went up by 17% to $693 billion. This was the greatest contributor to global increase.
So European countries were already trying to boost their strategic autonomy and self-reliance in arms production before Trump's election.
In the Middle East, Israel's invasion of Gaza and Lebanon fueled another sharp rise in defense budgets. Yet, for much of that region, a larger arms race has been delayed for now. Future spending may hinge on fragile peace deals holding up. In Asia, China remained the world's second largest military spender after the US. In 2024, China's military budget was $314 billion adjusted for inflation. That's nearly 8 times what it was in 2004. Now, several countries in the Indo-Pacific, including Japan, India, and the Philippines, are responding to China's military buildup by increasing their defense expenditure. Record military spending might buy security, but it comes as a cost. Around the world, countries are diverting money from schools, hospitals, social welfare, and climate action to fuel a new arms race. The more nations spend to arm themselves, the more fragile peace becomes. And a new era characterized by suspicion and mistrust between rival powers beacons. Eason Chen and Adil Brar for TaiwanPlus.
A delegation of Taiwanese lawmakers is in Washington, D.C. on a week-long visit. Their trip comes at a crucial time in Taiwan-U.S. relations as President Donald Trump's proposed 32% tariff looms over Taiwanese goods. To find out more about the visit, I spoke with Iris Shaw, director of the ruling Democratic Progressive Party's mission in Washington, D.C. Visit comes at a time when Taiwan is trying to deal with Trump's tariff on the country, which is a potential 32%. Is the purpose of this visit to negotiate trade?
Right. My understanding is that the legislative delegation is not here to negotiate trade. The trade negotiations are under the purview of Taiwan's government, and this visit is actually part of a long-standing practice of the parliamentary diplomacy. So it consists of members of the LY's U.S. caucus and the Foreign and National Defense Committee. President Liao has announced at the early outset of this tariff negotiation will be led by an interagency task force led by the Vice Premier Zheng Lijun. Both sides started the negotiation since April 11th. From what I heard, the discussion has been going well.
You said this isn't specifically geared towards trade. Historically, what have these parliamentary groups, these parliamentary visits to Washington, D.C. been about?
Many of the touch points between the U.S. and Taiwan delegation of such will likely to engage with their congressional counterparts as well as broader Washington's policy community. But I imagine this time around, as they say in the media, tariff and maybe security issues will come up in these type of discussions.
What do you think the U.S. policymakers will be looking to get out of these talks, or what kind of points would you think they'll be talking about?
I'll just point out Treasury Secretary Bessent mentioned there are 15 to 18 important trading partners that the U.S. will prioritize in the trade negotiations and tariff negotiations. And Taiwan is the U.S. 7th largest trading partner, so we're certainly in that ballpark. Overall, the U.S. is looking to reduce trade imbalance, reinvigorate U.S. industrial base, which also confirms to Taiwan's economic strategy as our major investment in procurement of energy and defense articles are already underway.
That was Iris Shaw, director of the Democratic Progressive Party's mission in Washington, D.C. More and more people in Taiwan are getting inked up, a big change from the past when tattoos were seen as a symbol of rebellion and criminality. Our reporter Sandy Chi explains what's changed.
In a world of ink and needles, Hori Fu, a renowned tattoo artist here in Taiwan, has been leaving his mark for well over 4 decades. Fu is a living legend in the tattoo community, with a legacy etched into the skin of thousands of people. He began his tattooing career at the age of 16, when there were not many resources or mentors in the country.
就自己就有兴趣去搞那一块，就去研究它，对，去找书籍啊。那时候书籍还很少，我记得也是很后面才看到日本的一个杂志。
When Fu was first getting started, tattoos were not widely accepted by Taiwanese society. This form of art was traditionally linked with rebellious behavior or brotherhoods and gangs, making it extra difficult for tattoo artists like Fu to run a business.
那时候我们的招牌，那个警察还会来关心呢，就是不给挂。 就是因为他们觉得这个是，就是会有可能会兄弟来这里聚集吧，所以那时候是属于很地下的一个文化。
Fu says gang members in Taiwan usually get tattoos related to their religious beliefs, which many call Taiwanese tattoo style.
是因为台湾有正头文化，那个就是庙会，所以庙会他们那一些文化就是他们有他们信的神明。 什么七爷八爷啦，官将手那时候有一阵子很多那个年轻人都来吃那个东西。
But things have changed a lot since those days. Now it's not just gang members getting tattoos; it's people from all walks of life, from office workers to doctors to artists, and from young people to seniors, making tattoos a popular art form.
台湾这几年不是这个角头的电影很风行。 那再加上我们的媒体本身自己，那又对这一块的部分也蛮推崇的。所以相对的，你看以前只要是包手啊，或者是包脚这种，然后一看到大家都觉得是兄弟。可是你在现在路边随便看到，到处都是。
Tattoos have gotten so big that there are annual exhibitions which draw thousands of tattoo enthusiasts, each with their own reasons for getting inked.
流行吧，流行，然后就有想去刺青，然后就开始一次就没有停下来了。
这是台湾的神明，就是妈祖。啊，我觉得妈祖对我来说意义非常重大，所以我才会。 想把妈祖刺在我身上，就比如说我的事业，像我在开车，我就觉得他把我带在身上，会有一种保佑的感觉啊。
Tattoo styles have also become more diverse, including Japanese styles, lettering, watercolor, and illustrative tattoos.
风格的自由度变得蛮高的，因为我那时候还在当学徒的时候，其实基本上是没有那么多风格，然后其实也只有传统店。
With the growing popularity of skin art, the Taiwan Tattoo Union says there are around 6,000 tattoo artists in the country. No longer an art form that has to be hidden or avoided. Artists like Hori Fu can run their businesses openly and proudly promote their work. Patrick Chen and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
And thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care and see you next time.